Hello and welcome. My name is Kyle, and today we're going to be talking about 91.3, Responsibility and Authority of the Pilot in Command. Part A says the pilot in command of an aircraft is directly responsible for and is the final authority as to the operation of that aircraft. So what this essentially says is that you're the one making the decisions in the airplane, assuming that you are the PIC. So if you have someone else in the airplane with you, maybe a friend or a passenger, they are not the final authority as to how the aircraft is going to go. So if they're pressuring you, like, hey, you got to do that, you got to do that, you are the PIC, you get to make the final decision. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't take into consideration their opinion, especially if you have an experienced passenger who maybe also is a pilot, or has some knowledge of the area. Maybe you're flying in or something like that. They certainly can be a useful resource to you. But if you are the PIC, the pilot in command, then you make the final decision because you are directly responsible for the operation of the aircraft. Part B says, in an in-flight emergency requiring immediate action, the pilot in command may deviate from any rule of this part to the extent required to meet that emergency. And this essentially just means that you can't, they want to give you the option to be able to break a rule, right, in FAR if needed, but they don't want you to just, claim 91.3 and start breaking things, right? So, for example, if we have an engine failure in flight and we need to be able to put it down in a field, but in order to do that, we're going to have to fly within 500 feet of like a house or maybe another person, right? Well, there's not really any way that we can get around that. So in order to land the airplane safely, we do have to break that rule. And that's just an example. Now, what that means is also we can't just go on breaking whatever we want and justify it with 91.3. So we can only meet the emergency to the extent that's required. Part C says, each pilot in command who deviates from a rule under paragraph B of this section shall, upon the request of the administrator, send a written report of that deviation to the administrator. So essentially this just says, hey, if you're going to use 91.3 and the FAA may ask about it. And so you may just be required to send a written report detailing your experience and, kind of essentially what happened, what your thought process was. So not really anything to be scared about. The big thing with 91.3, with pilots, we get kind of nervous with the whole emergency thing. Don't be afraid to declare an emergency. Now, I'll say, don't just go declare an emergency every time something goes wrong, or maybe you're having trouble with something. But certainly, if the situation requires priority and urgency, then don't be afraid to declare an emergency. And so, thanks for tuning in for this series going over the FARs. We'll also be going over the AIM chapters as well. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you next time.